What is From Talk to Writing? Talk to Writing takes place when a teacher plans for scaffolding support that allows learners who use EAL to orally rehearse explicit vocabulary, sentence or language structures that they need in order to write. Effective oral activities can be incorporated into existing scaffolding practices that support writing, such as collaborative tasks, building vocabulary, using visuals and modelling. These oral strategies can be adapted and used with learners of any age, in any subject, topic or text genre, and for all levels of English language proficiency. How can teachers use strategies that support Talk to Write? Let's first look at collaborative activities. These are activities that involve learners working collaboratively together. They are particularly effective if student talk rather than teacher talk is central and embedded in the learning and the activity. Teachers can explicitly plan to create opportunities for learners to work together on a task that requires a particular type of talk with clear outcomes. In order to support learners who use EAL, consider the type of academic language you want learners to use in their writing. Provide opportunities for learners to rehearse this language before writing, and put learners in mixed ability groups or pairs with good English language role models or with other learners who share a first language, so that learners can use their full linguistic repertoire and prior knowledge to complete tasks. Now, let's look at building vocabulary. Exposing learners to subject-specific vocabulary and encouraging learners to practice subject-specific vocabulary helps to support building the vocabulary that they will need to focus on prior to the intended writing task. There are a number of approaches to support learners in this way, such as planning opportunities to pre-teach key vocabulary in advance of a lesson, prompting learners during collaborative tasks by providing a choice of words for a learner to choose from. This helps to hear the word they are trying to recall and use it. For example, a teacher might ask, "Is it a tadpole or a froglet?" Provide a visual to help support this further. Gestures, actions or talking using your fingers to identify each word in the sentence you want them to write are also useful ways to scaffold and prompt vocabulary. Teachers could also plan to carry out language drills to help learners build their vocabulary. The repetitive nature of a task like this can help learners to internalise new vocabulary or language structures, and in due course to produce language independently in both talking, during a collaborative task and in their writing. Teachers could also plan to play well-known games that use flashcards such as Snap or Bingo that can be adapted to provide the opportunity for learners to listen and talk during the activity. Using speaking frames with a gap in the sentence to fill in, this helps learners to recall new vocabulary in a meaningful context, and encouraging learners to use their first language during a collaborative task helps them to make connections between the English language output they are hearing and their first language. This approach helps them to demonstrate and build on their prior knowledge of the subject being talked about prior to writing. Now we will take a look at some ways of how you could incorporate using visuals to scaffold and prompt talk during speaking activities in a specific context, and how you can provide a richer and more enhanced context to help them make sense of and access the content being taught. Visual prompts made of objects, visuals or puppets from a specific story or topic are useful for supporting learners to orally identify, name and recall language alongside telling and role-playing a story or carrying out instructions. Learners can then use this language to recall and sequence their own written story or instructions. Orally sequencing a set of visual flashcards on a specific topic in pairs or as a group will help learners to recall vocabulary, rehearse key language structures, and help to stimulate, encourage and support further talk in preparation for a writing task. This could also include opportunity to practice using sequencing language such as first, then and next. Plan to use graphic organisers to help learners to present information, clarify and structures ideas about specific concepts. Again, these tasks are most effective if used to promote collaborative talk and discussion about a topic prior to writing. For example, if learners are to write a science report to explain the stages of the life cycle of a frog, provide a flowchart type graphic organizer and a set of visuals for learners to sequence collaboratively and talk about the stages of the life cycle as they are doing the task. Finally, we will now look at how you can use some different types of modelling strategies to model the oral and written language you would like learners to produce to provide further opportunity to rehearse and extend their speaking skills and in turn prepare learners for writing. For example, learners can be provided with speaking frames that model useful sentence structures with an accompanying word bank. These sentences could have gaps in them to recall vocabulary and fill in. These can be used both orally or in written form and can be used within any curriculum area. The speaking frames can also be differentiated according to the learner's English language proficiency level. Another modelling and scaffolding strategy is to give learners a substitution table. These provide models of sentences but with a range of word choices for learners to select from in columns to construct their own sentences. Further modelling can be provided by preparing cards with words that are jumbled up for learners to collaboratively sequence correctly into meaningful sentences. This could also be a set of sentences to sequence that create a meaningful text. In addition, learners can also work together to match up sentences that are in half, to join them together to create and sequence meaningful sentences. The sentences can also be matched to a corresponding visual. The collaborative nature of the task supports talk for writing by allowing learners the opportunity to orally practice and rehearse and extend the sequencing and story language together during the activity. Modelling can also occur when the teacher and the class read a model text together, providing opportunity for the teacher to make certain language structures explicit. It also provides opportunity for learners to listen to and orally practice using these structures prior to writing themselves. Again, gaps in the sentences can be left for learners to orally recall and discuss. This modelling strategy is similar to shared reading, but this time the teacher and the learners are writing together using many of the oracy strategies already suggested. Writing together in this way includes and supports the participation of learners who use EAL in the writing process. Top tips for using talk to support writing. Make sure talk to write activities are explicitly planned for and built around the intended writing genre to enable learners to apply the vocabulary and language structures they need to become independent writers. Why use talk to support writing? A solid grounding in speaking skills is essential to support the development of writing and the understanding of the curriculum concepts. Therefore, activities that encourage and develop oracy skills are crucial to the development of writing skills in learners who use EAL of all ages. Alongside this, the suggested strategies support and provide the scaffolding that learners need to help them to move between informal spoken light language and formal written light language. It is also a way for multilingual learners to make full use of their already acquired language resources and skills as they learn a new curriculum topic and build upon language they already know as they develop more formal registers of academic writing. And finally, it enables learners to hear effective language models and structures in context, encourage practice, output and interaction of new language structures, and develop and organise their ideas prior to writing. How can talk to write strategies be used for independent learners? Providing learners with a prepared substitution table or a speaking frame to complete a writing task enables them to write with developing independence and empowers them to confidently make the transition from dependent to independent writing. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be notified of future videos from the Bell Foundation.